Welcome everybody to my newest Let's Play of an old game that I've already Let's Played twice on my channel. This is the Final Fantasy Legend 2. It's one of my favorite games, but that's not why I'm playing it again for a third time on this channel. I'm playing it for a third time because I'm finishing another challenge run. The instruction manual basically gives you two challenges when it gives you recommended parties. It basically says like 2 parties you should never use are 4 monsters and 4 robots. So the first time I played through this game, I showed off all the dialogue, talked with everybody, and used a balanced party. I used a human, a mutant, a robot, and a monster, so all 4 of the initial classes. Then, like I said, for the second run, I just used a challenge party of 4 monsters, and now I'll be doing that with 4 robots. The reason I say 4 robots is a bad party is because robots gain stats by equipping things. Weapons, armor, items, and they can be really expensive, especially at the beginning because monsters aren't giving a lot of gold, and the stats that you gain from stuff isn't all that good, and there's not a lot of treasure at the beginning of the game. So we're going to avoid that pitfall of, you know, having to basically equip 4 robots by only basically focusing on 1 robot and using that robot to basically take us through most of the game. You get about 3/4 of the way through the game, treasure starts becoming pretty readily available. Money also becomes pretty abundant, so by then we'll be able to start equipping all 4 of our robots. But for the most part, for the first 75% of the game, we're basically just going to be focusing on 1 robot, and that robot will be the last robot that I'm about to name here. IG-88. I'm naming all these robots after robots in Star Wars. Now, there's no letters in here, so I kind of just made do. The first robot, the hero robot, you know, going with the Marty Mouse House theme, is the MSE-6 droid, which is the mouse droid. You see that in the Death Star. It's that robot that gets scared away by Chewie when he growls in Star Wars. The PLNK droid is the designation for the power droid. That's that square droid. There's one of them in the Sandcrawler when R2-D2 and C-3PO are captured by the Jawas. And there's also one in Return of the Jedi getting its feet burned in Jabba's palace. And then the other 2 robots are named after the 2 robot bounty hunters in Empire Strikes Back. Forlom, no 4, so I just used an F there. And then IG-88, the assassin droid. No 88, so I just used the uppercase B, which kind of looks like, you know, an 8. So, now, IG-88 being the assassin droid, he will basically be carrying our party. The other robots, I'm going to de-equip them, and there's basically going to be meat shields, or I guess metal shields, because, you know, meat shield is a, you know, something living. That'll actually help speed up battles, because they won't get a turn. I want to select an attack for them. Like I said, mainly IG-88 is just going to be carrying that part the entire way, for like the entire way through the first like 3/4 of the game. So IG-88, I'm going to set him up to be an agility robot. Eventually, at the end game, Forlom will also be an agility robot. They'll have the same load out, so they'll have the same stats and stuff. Basically be, you know, mirror images of each other, which I think was fitting, being that they're both bounty hunters. The power droid, I'm going to have him be basically just a strength-based robot. And then the mouse droid is just going to be like a jack-of-all-trades robot. Give him some guns and stuff. Guns usually don't get a lot of highlight in these playthroughs, because guns, while initially powerful, when you have low stats, because they do fixed damage, as you start maxing stats out, guns become kind of obsolete. So speaking of stats, the main stat, like I said, I want to focus on is agility. Agility determines your turn order in battle, and it determines your accuracy. And for agility-based weapons, it determines the damage that you do. So I'm going to give IG-88 this bow, which is an agility-based weapon. It's going to increase its agility. And now I'm going to take off the weapons of all the other droids. So the droids have 7 slots open to them. All droids come with this OPA/PO. That O stands for strength, and the PA stands for paralysis, and PO is poison. So all robots, because they're robots, they are immune to poison and paralysis. They don't need to sleep, they don't need to breathe, so they can't be, put to sleep or gassed. So that, like I said, limits their inventory, but by 1, but that's okay. Resistances are nice to have. Unfortunately, other resistances, like mainly elemental resistances, that are really, really important, we're not going to be able to gain them for the most part until late game, when we can start getting armor that has built-in resistances. There's this dragon armor toward the end game that basically gives you all elemental resistances. You can get some elemental resistances by equipping Magi. I'll talk about Magi just a little bit. That's basically the MacGuffin of this game. And they give different resistances. For instance, if you equip a Fire Magi, you get strong against fire, so fire doesn't hurt you. If you equip Poison Magi, you can't get poisoned. And Ice and Thunder are mixed up in the code. So if you equip Ice, you get immunity to Thunder. If you equip Thunder, you get immunity to Ice. Not really going to be important for our playthrough. There's only going to be 2 times when I'm going to be using a Magi to basically on IG-88. That's for 2 bosses that use the flame attack. So I'll give him the Fire Magi to make him immune to that fire. The Magi I will be equipping though mainly on IG-88 is the Speed Magi. Now I just bought a whole bunch of rapiers, which are agility-based weapons. So that increased IG-88's hit points and his agility stat. Now, weapons have a modifier on them in turning damage. So like a rapier I think is ×4. So it's basically your agility stat ×4, that's basically your damage. Then it casts a calculator, of course, the enemy's defense into it. Anyway, I'll be equipping these Speed Magi, and though they don't increase the stat on the menu, in your character menu, in battle it'll actually, the more Magi you equip, the more bonus it gives. So for instance, like, let's say IG-88 has agility of 10 right now. So the rapier does agility ×4 damage. So he'll do 40 damage. But if I have a Speed Magi equipped, it might count as his stat is 11 in battle, so he'll do 44 damage. And of course, the more Magi you equip, the higher that bonus is. So we can only equip 1 type of Magi per character, so you can't have like speed and power on the same character. So Magi, not too important in terms of stats, especially with the robot party. Like I said, I'll be using it just for those 2 resistances against 2 boss battles. But it's not a mechanic that is very important. You don't even have to worry about it at all to, finish the game off. But it's nice. This is an extra bonus if you do know how it works. So Magi ain't important, like I said, to stats, but it is important to the story of this game. Basically, Magi drives the entire story. Kind of skip the story here. I'll be talking with most characters. Basically only talking to characters I need to talk to. But I'll still tell you what's going on story-wise. Basically, there's these things called Magi, and 77 of them make up a statue of a goddess. And rumor says that if you gather all 77 Magi, you will basically become a god yourself. So obviously there are bad people looking around to gather all the Magi, and basically, become evil overlords and take over the world. Typical villainous stuff. So now there's a group of individuals called Guardians who basically try to protect Magi from falling into evil hands. Our father, I don't know how he's a dad though when we're a robot, maybe just built Dr. Light from Mega Man. The Lord gave me no son, so I built me one. According to the Mega song, I gave you hair. check them out. It's a good band. The Megas. They do songs based on the Mega Man games, and they have like a spin-off band, the Belmonts, which do it for the Castlevania series. But anyway, getting back to the game. Our father left a few years ago and gave us one Magi, the Prison Magi. So he tells us how much Magi is in each world. This game is divided into little worlds and stuff, and you're locked in a world until you get enough Magi to be able to open the celestial pillar that takes you to like an oval, this sky pillar that takes you to, that connects all the other worlds to each other. So our thing is basically like, well, we want to find our father, and we figure, well, our dad's out there protecting Magi from falling into evil hands. If we go out there looking for Magi, we're probably going to run into our father. So that basically sets off the entire quest, and then, you know, we get little sub-quests in between here. But the main driving force was, like I said, finding our father. Like I said, our father is a guardian, and we're about to run into some guardians here. You wouldn't know that because I'm not going to talk with them, but if you do talk with them, you do find out that, you know, they're guardians. They basically came here to get this Magi that's in these runes and keep them from falling in the hands of the first main villain in the game, Ashura. I'm going to grab these Magi here. I'm going to get that speed Magi. I'm going to equip that right away on IG-88 there. I go into the Magi menu, equip. And like I said, that'll give him, you know, in battle calculations, just some extra damage with his agility-based weapons. So, Guardians trying to flee. We follow them, and they got ambushed by Ashura's man. They tell us, you know, the whole story and stuff. But we don't have to worry about it because I already know what's happening. So, now Ashura has a base here. It's to the north, where he's running his evil operations from. We can't enter the base because only special people can enter the base. Even though we're the heroes, we can't enter it. But we can enter it once we recruit Key, so we go talk with Key again. And she's like, oh, Ashura's doing some evil things in this world, let's go destroy his base. So Key joins us. Throughout the game, we will get a fifth party member who will join us. They're usually pretty overpowered, can carry you through if you're not really working on stats and you don't really know how the game works. But for our purposes, since we're not really mainly fighting at all, a fifth party member actually can be detrimental to the group, because when you have a fifth party member, it's harder for your group to run. And mainly I'm going to be running because I don't really have to worry about fighting to build up stats like humans and mutants do. I don't need to worry about fighting to gain meat to, you know, transform my monsters. So mainly I'll just be running for most battles. Some battles though I will fight. Key, like I said, and many fifth party members is kind of overpowered. We saw that with Mr. S at the beginning. He can basically one-shot anything. He can even one-shot groups with his fire spells. Key can pretty much one-shot most groups with her thunder spell. So if I can defeat a battle in, you know, one round with Key's thunder spell, and even if there's multiple enemies, IG-88 can take out like single group enemies with an attack of the rapier. I will do that just to gain a little bit of extra money. Of course, enemies here don't really give too much money, but every little bit counts. Anything I can use to boost up stats will help. So speaking of enemies, if you really want to grind stats and money, this is a pretty good place to do it, because there's those zombies walking around, and if you talk with a zombie or you try to occupy the same space as a zombie, you both try to step in the same spot at the same time, you will get into a battle with a group of enemies. So it's a good way to basically farm encounters. You can basically like use up all of Key's items to gain a lot of gold and stuff. I think I did that with in the regular playthrough. I also used up all of Mr. S's abilities to you know, just get some extra gold to help the party out, gain some stat grinding. Like I said, not going to be necessary here though. So, we'll be getting all the treasure. Although a lot of the treasure that I will be getting will be useless to a robot party. Treasure like this, the speed potion. There are certain potions that increase attributes. There's a body potion which increases hit points, speed increases your agility, power increases your strength. But those only work for humans and mutants. Have no use on a robot or a monster, so we'll just sell them for extra money. They're actually worth a decent amount of gold early game here, so that'll be nice. We're gonna get a decent piece of armor here coming up, a silver gauntlet. Interesting is when you equip like humans, gauntlets give the least amount of defense. Then helmets, and then body armor gives the most defense. For robots, though, it doesn't matter what piece of armor they equip. What matters the amount of defense they get from the armor is the material it's used from. So, where a bronze breastplate would give more defense to a human or a mutant than a bronze gauntlet, for a robot, bronze breastplate, bronze gauntlet, same amount of defense. So. Robots are also unique in the sense that they can equip multiple pieces of the same type of armor. So if you wanted a really big defensive robot, you can throw like, say, 7 silver breastplates on one robot. Have just a tank in the front and basically will take no damage, you know. But we're not going to be really worried about that too much. Like I said, we're maybe just like I said, focusing on Mr. IG-88 here. Some of these battles are a little tough to run when you encounter them, when we run into this zombie here. And we're in really tight quarters here, so unfortunately I'm running into the zombie quite a bit. But it gives me some extra gold to work with. Sometimes you'll also see me, like I said, I try to avoid as many fights as possible. But sometimes I will fight throughout the game humanoid enemies, like that Ashigaru there. Humanoid enemies drop items. Monsters drop meat that your monsters will eat to evolve into other monsters. Human enemies drop items. So these Ishiguras, they can drop long swords. Not a useful item for us because it's a strength-based weapon, but it's something that we could sell. Some enemy later on there'll be a mini boss that we would have to fight several episodes later. We save the game before we fight him. It's a mercenary and hope to drop a good gun from him. So I know I said earlier that guns aren't too useful as you build up stats, but at the beginning of the game, basically the first half of the game, guns can be kind of useful, especially for robots, because guns, some guns multi-target, so they hit an entire group, sort of like how Key's Thunder Spell hits an entire group. Right now, IG-88 can pretty much take out solo targets, which is why, like, if I can fight a solo enemy, I'll fight it, because IG-88 takes care of it right away. But like a large group of enemies, you know, if there's like 8 flies, 8 goblins, or something like that, you know, robots can't really handle that. But when we get certain guns, they will. So like the first gun we're going to get will be the submachine gun. And the game's pretty nice in terms of the weapons it gives you. Like a submachine gun's good for the first few walls, and then by the time the submachine gun is useless, you get a different type of item, grenades. And then when they become useless, you can get a bazooka. That's the one that we're going to farm, the bazooka, later on. And then that can be replaced by like a tank or a volt cannon. So the game's pretty nice in terms of the guns that it does give you. First gun though, we're going to have to buy on our own. So that's a lot of the stuff is going to be, a lot of the money that we're first acquiring here is going to be used for. Buying that machine gun. We can buy that in the second town. Not necessary for this next world here, which is actually Ashura's world, that we'll be visiting basically in the next episode. So I'll talk more about Ashura in the next episode when we go through his world here. So take care, have a good one. Thanks for following along. Bye.